All right, everybody. So it's rare that the reviews fall on my birthday and I'm paying attention enough to plan them out. And if you watched my last review that dropped today, you'll be watching this review now and you already know that I decided to do two Alice Cooper tribute albums for my birthday because it's my birthday and I want to. This one is a double album, covers every album from the very beginning of Alice Cooper to the very well, at this point, would have been close to this album was released in 1993. So this would have been only 4 years after the Trash album, which is the last album to have representation on here. So that's not bad. I knew one of the bands on this album prior to picking it up. That's it. I'm going to pull out the jacket here because the jacket's a lot easier to read. Now, of all the bands that are on here, the one band I do know I did actually pick up an album from, and weirdly enough, that album I picked up was a cover album. It's The Flaming Lips, and I had done a cover of, or I did a review for their covering Dark Side of the Moon already. So, I'll be back to doing a cover for them. This is not a rock album. This is a weird kind of punk slash industrial slash very undergroundy kind of sound for the time. I don't even know if any of these bands did anything later on. So, comment section. If you any of these bands that I list off, if you know anything from them, albums that you think are good or anything like that, I want comments down below. Let me know in the comments about some of these bands. All right, let's get going on this. Disc 1. We're starting off with, oh my God, why do these bands use such names? Oh, Dramarama, Elected. The font on here was a horrible choice. Oh my God. Such a horrible choice for the font. Dramarama, I think I've heard of before. But I'm not 100% sure. Their version of Reflected was pretty cool. Definitely has that raw underground true vibe of the original Reflected, From there we go into, oh my God, what is that? Wallison Ladmo? Yeah, Wallison Ladmo. Doing Levity Ball. I love Levity Ball. Levity Ball, I think, was one of the first Alice Cooper songs that I tried covering with one of the bands I played in. Really kind of, I always dug the version that was on Live at Whiskey A Go Go more than the studio version. And I think this version of Levity Ball reflects more off of the Live at the Whiskey A Go Go version. John Truby and the Ugly Janitors of America doing Refrigerator Heaven. Okay. I guess, it's all right. Cabbage and Kings doing Lay Down and Die Goodbye. That one was interesting. I actually weirdly kind of dig on that cover, and I'm not sure why. Because it is Lay Down and Die Goodbye, but it's not Lay Down and Die Goodbye at the same time. It's kind of weird that way. Rubber City Rebels doing Caught in a Dream. They do a decent enough version, sort of it. I mean, it's not a rock version, but it's cool. Lydia Lunch and Roland S. Howard doing Black Juju. Meh. Bug Lamp doing Second Coming, Ballad of Dwight Fry. I really like that they kept the two parts together. That is how it should be done, and I think it was really well done. Um, yeah. Then we're gonna do the one band on here that I knew prior to this, and that's the Flaming Lips. Weirdly, they're doing Sunrise, which isn't technically an Alice Cooper song. It is legitimately Alice Cooper doing a cover of another group. Bulimia Banquet doing Under My Wheels. Haunted Garage doing Halo of Flies. I thought this was actually kind of interesting. Yeah, it really worked for me. I really thought that this version of Halo of Flies really worked. I really got into it, and it's one of the few on here that I would actually go out of my way to listen to. Chris Connolly doing Desperado. Not bad. It's basically a stripped down acoustic version. Pretty decent. All right. After Desperado, we move on to disc two. Disc two opens up with Shadow Project, which I think at this point I've actually possibly heard one or two things from them, or at least I've got one or two friends that might know something from them. They're doing Dead Babies and Killer together, which is awesome. I mean, obviously it's not Dead Babies and Killer, but it's not bad. Reverb Mother doing School's Out. Um, this is definitely an interesting interpretation. I'll leave it at that. Clawhammer doing Generation Landslide. I believe I've heard of Clawhammer since. I think they kind of have made a name for themselves sort of in the metal community. Royal Court of China doing Working Up a Sweat. They didn't need to make it any more graphic than the original version was, so then whatever. Tyla or Tila, I'm going to say it's Tyla doing Teenage Lament. Meh. A band called Cold Ethel doing Welcome to My Nightmare. They actually do a pretty good version of Welcome to My Nightmare. It was actually really decent. Carnival Art doing Cold Ethel. The Hangmen. I'm pretty sure I've heard of the Hangmen as well. I think they're another one that got bigger as time went on. They're doing Only Women Bleed, which, whatever. Sloppy Seconds performing Serious, which was nice to see, a track from the inside being included on here. And Serious is a good tune to use, so. They Eat Their Own doing Clones, and that was okay. I didn't mind it. But once again, yes, Clones is an Alice Cooper song because the guy who wrote it gave it to Alice, if I remember correctly. Well, not gave it, but anyways, I don't think there's a version prior to Alice doing it. But I don't. Part of me feels like it shouldn't have been included because, yeah, it's like Sunrise. Yeah, Alice did it, but it's not really an Alice song, Then you got Duchess. I don't know if this is supposed to be because of the way it's spelled. I don't know if it's supposed to be Duchess de Sade, Duchess de Sade, Duchess de Sade. I don't know. They're doing Pain. Really, it was a pretty decent version. I was kind of impressed with it. Then the album finishes up with the Vandals. Oh, I forgot. The Vandals was the other band I knew at that time. I had friends that were into punk, so I actually knew the Vandals at the time I picked this up. And not to say that I was a fan or anything like that, but they do Poison on here, and I am. There's certain with vulgaring up an Alice Cooper song is kind of pointless to me. There's a reason Alice isn't vulgar. He's already shocking enough. He doesn't need to be vulgar. So when you take a song from Alice and then you go and you make it a little more vulgar and make it a little more, it takes away from it for me. Now, as much as I've downplayed this entire album, if you can find this album for a decent price, I think I picked this up used in the 90s for about $10. Might have paid as much as 20 because it was classified as a bit of a rarity. Released on Triple X Records. Pick it up. If you're a diehard Alice Cooper fan, like a true blue Alice Cooper fan, there's a high probability you'll hate this album. But it's really interesting to hear people do different interpretation of Alice Cooper songs. I don't listen to this often. I throw it in maybe once every 5-10 years. Every 5 years. We'll say I throw it in once about every 5 years. Just as a, kind of a throwback and a reminder to what music was like in the 90s. Excuse me. And what bands were doing with music in the 90s and how they were changing it up and playing with it and doing something different with it and how it didn't all have to be the same all the time. Is that experimentation that has been lost since. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna leave that one there. I got a wonderful, lovely glare I'm noticing coming in through that window now, so time to reset everything here. Thanks for watching. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Once again, like I said, if you know any of these bands here, let me know. Which one should I check out other than the Vandals and the Flaming Lips, which I 100% remember. While you're on your way down there, the like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications. If you could please hit those, I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, folks, peace, love, take care.